Pew, pew. Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing a little bit something different. It's a book review. So this is The Four Agreements. It's by Don Miguel Ruiz. This book is a very thin book, so if you're like me who prefers audiobooks and not reading, however, I do encourage you to read this one. It's got some nice size font and is quite easy because you can read each four agreements kind of like one before bed every night. But this book is got some really basic principles that will kind of change the way that you perceive, the reality of the world and so forth. But principle number one that the book covers off is be impeccable with your word. So it basically just talks about how powerful your word can be. Have you ever been in a situation where someone may give you their opinion about someone before you meet them, and then all of a sudden you meet them, you're like, yeah, this person does come across a bit untrustworthy, and that could be all because someone else might find they've got a lower ability to trust people, so they've automatically, kind of felt like they can't trust anybody. They've told you this new person that you're going to meet is not trustworthy, and all of a sudden you kind of see that in others when you meet that person. So be impeccable with your word basically just means to, understand that what you say can be very powerful and can change the way that people interact in a day-to-day life. It also means, to speak very positive and highly of people and, push your praise against, the universe and make sure that what you say is always received in a positive manner. The second principle is don't take anything personally. So I guess, you never really know why people say what they say. I guess when people say something, it's probably more of a reflection of themselves than, they're seeing you through their reality. So when people make comments, say something, might have an opinion about what you're doing, brush it off, don't take it personally. And I know this is much harder than what it sounds, but really practice day-to-day life in doing something that, you don't take things personally. You don't really care what other people say in their judgment, especially when it's a personal, direct attack at you, or your, if someone has a different belief system or a different opinion on say what you want out of life and what they want out of life. Understand that, that you two are different beings and that you may not see eye to eye, but don't take it personally. The third principle is don't make assumptions. So I guess this one's probably the most difficult for me because my mind ticks very fast and I tend to jump the gun a little bit. So making assumptions is like kind of really finding the courage to ask the questions, seek out the truth in what the situation is. I guess sometimes it's a little bit easier to be an observer of life and kind of, sit there and go, well, this is happening because maybe this, and this, and they're all if and maybes and because of that, and you don't really know the truth. So I guess principle number 3 is to not make assumptions and really just find the facts and then make decisions based on factual information and not assumptions. And we kind of all know that assume, when broken up, kind of says it just makes an ass out of you and me. So, nothing worse than assuming. And most times you have two people assuming two different stories, when if they just kind of spoke to each other, would find the real reality is completely different. And the fourth one I absolutely love. It's always do your best. And I think, this really shines through, the people that I hang around with and the things that I've been able to achieve in my life. But, really always do your best. I always say, if you can't do it right, don't do it at all. And I guess I've broken down that belief a little bit, especially now with the use of, I guess virtual assistants and outsourcing and insourcing and so forth. It can be a little bit different. I guess now it's like, I'd rather do 5 tasks at 80% and have that delivered to me and then apply my 100% to fix those 5 tasks up at 20%. But I think this goes a little bit deeper. It's, kind of always expect the best, always kind of aim for excellence. The saying kind of aim for the moon and you'll land with the stars. They're both pretty good outcomes. So always kind of always have a high expectation in the way that you do a task or the way that you deliver a product, or when it comes to running your own business, making sure that you always go that extra mile to deliver the best possible outcome that you possibly can. And avoid self-judgment. I think, when you start self-doubting and judging yourself, you're not really doing yourself any fairness. You really just need to know that what you're doing, you're applying the best of your ability. But as long as you're not doing it with laziness and sloppiness, that you know that when you're giving it your shot, and I always kind of, refer back to athletes and people in the Olympics and so forth. Like they get up every morning, they're training, they're dedicated, they're prioritizing this practice and this exercise over and above anything else. Someone says to them, hey, let's do brunch Sunday morning and have a lazy day. They're like, can't, sorry, training. And often these people become a little bit frustrated to be around because all they do is train. But this is because they're always being their best. They're always A game. They're watching what they eat. They're having high intake of water. They're staying lean. They're practicing what they preach, and they achieve gold medals. So always, kind of look at athletes and sportsmanships and people in careers such as that, because they're always A game, I guess, and the moment that they start slacking off and sloppy, their coach kind of picks them up on it. So a really great book. Highly encourage everyone to kind of get around it and read it. Like I said, it's a very easy read and some really cool principles that will change your life. Another tip, read this with other people and hold yourself accountable. So if you're in a group or a membership of some sort, maybe get a couple of copies, share them around, or, share the book around, and then hold each other accountable, and just, when something happens, go, you're making an assumption, rule number 3, or, you might say something like, oh, number 1, are you impeccable with your word? That also means gossiping, reduce the amount of gossiping that you partake in, and also the amount of gossiping that you listen to, which is probably more detrimental, but, eliminate that. So hold each other accountable, and I really feel that if you read this book in a group, and I did this exercise with a mate, and we held each other accountable, and we'll kind of throw in number two, you're not practicing number 3. So I think if you really want the best principles out of this book, read in a group and hold yourself accountable. Once again, my name's Ray Milladoni, and remember, always sharpen your soul.